Hey everyone, it's Chris. Welcome back to the Little Shop of Hoarders and the PDX Picker channel. Got another video full of some really great sales over the weekend. I think I finally stumbled upon something that sells really well in the fourth quarter. So we're going to talk about that and show what those items are, because many of them sold over the weekend. So you get to take a look exactly at what I'm talking about. And I'm also going to talk about a way of thinking that is extremely important when it comes to long-term success in your eBay reselling business. It's kind of a mental philosophy. It's a real simple phrase that we've heard in a lot of areas outside of life, but it really applies to reselling. Stick around after the intro song. I'm getting to pulling those orders, talking about those items that are great fourth quarter sellers, and the topic at hand.
Don't know why. That kind of stuff you throw away, I'll sell on eBay.
Really great weekend of sales for me. Man, this place is super not organized all that well. All right, first item that sold. I picked this up for $4 at a thrift store over the weekend. It is a Simms brand fishing hat. Simms, really good product, really good company. I hadn't sold any of them yet. I don't come across them too often, but it's a high-end fishing brand out of Bozeman, Montana. That sold for $25, free shipping. $25 free shipping, and it's actually going internationally. Yeah, it's going to the United Kingdom. So somebody's paying quite a bit of money for this $25 plus probably, I don't know, I have no idea how much it costs. Let's say 15 extra dollars out there to Great Britain, UK, so that's pretty cool. This next item, it took a long time to sell. I just started a 30% off sale on some of my items that are 150 days or older. And this fell into that category. This is a Vintage Chase Authentics Dale Jarrett NASCAR jacket, new with tax. Paid right around, I think, $17.50 for that at the thrift store. I bought two at the same exact thrift store. Probably the same person donated them. One was used, one was new, one was a extra large, and one was a medium. The used one was an extra large. That may have contributed. That nice price is a little bit lower. That sold quite quickly, a couple of weeks. This one, like I said, took over 5 months, maybe 6 months to sell. But it did sell eventually for $87.49 plus shipping. And that feeds into the theme of what I'm talking about here. Things that sell well in Q4. It shouldn't shock any of us that items that could be gifts are going to sell better in Q4. People generally have more money to spend on things, products, items, stuff when it comes close to Christmas and Hanukkah and all those types of winter holidays. So this jacket could be a gift that somebody is buying. And so yeah, it sold finally. But there are even more items here that I'm going to talk about that also fall under that category. I sold my last Coleman propane lantern. I say that like I had 20 of them. I had two. But two new ones. Paid just a couple bucks each for these. And this one sold for $20 plus shipping on that one. So I found a new area to source, or a new place to source in my local area. And I'm not afraid to share it because I don't know how widespread it is, but I bought this and a few other items at the store. This is a Dixon flannel, the Emerald Isle pattern to be specific. I've run across a few Dixon flannels in my time, and I think I had a Snap-on one that took Snap-on Tools one that took a while to sell, but this one sold quite quickly. Bought it for $10 and sold it for $50 plus shipping. I also had a quilted flannel jacket from them as well. The place that I source this from is called Plato's Closet, and it's like a place that you can sell your clothing to, and then they put it out for sale. Now, a lot of the stuff is crazy expensive. It is, you know, it's not like a honey hole where there's just tons and tons of good items to sell. Shoes in particular, 35 to 50 bucks for pairs of shoes. Just not going to be a lot of great items to sell. But for whatever reason, they didn't price up their Dixon flannels very much. And then also they have a fairly large number of items that are 50% off. So found a couple of other good items in there. So anyway, I'm excited to have another place to source, especially over the winter, because garage sales are completely done for us around here. There's a few people that have maybe like indoor sales of sorts, but we're down to thrift stores, estate sales, and a place like this, Plato's Closet. So happy to up the sourcing opportunities. These are a pair of Ultra Superior 5s, really good condition. Paid up for these, paid $15, $14.99. But they cleaned up really nice, didn't need a whole lot of cleaning, and those sold very quickly, just 3-4 days for $60 plus shipping. Ultras are as of right now, my favorite shoe to resell. They usually sell really quick. I own 2 pairs. They are very comfortable. I only own them because they resell so well. But anyway, I love Ultras, and I love wearing them. I love selling them. This next item, kind of an interesting story. I got this at the same sale that I got the Coleman lanterns. So, as I've mentioned a couple of times on here, went to this estate sale, got a big, huge pile of things for 50 bucks. That was a heck of a score. I got a Vitamix blender that I sold for like $230 because there was an extra pitcher with it. I got a bunch of Ford service manuals that I've sold for probably $200. So I have a few left. I sold one Coleman lantern for $50. I sold that one for $20. I have made a ton of money off of that sale. I was very, very lucky with that one. And this was in the pile of things that I got to. This is a vintage Ameribag sling backpack or sling pack of sorts. Made of leather, nice condition. These are very valuable. I had it listed for $75. One thing though that has going against it, very clearly, I think you can see on there, big old stain on there. There it is. Looks something red. I don't know if it was nail polish or what, but something red stained the bottom, and because it was on the bottom, I was like, maybe it can be sold for 75 bucks. I think these can go for like $100. Very, very good bags if you happen to come across them. They're vintage, made in the USA. Great, great product. I had mine listed for $75. Hadn't got a lot of traction on it, and then somebody messaged me and offered me $20. And normally I am going to immediately decline that, because it's in my opinion insultingly low when you're offering 75% or 65% off of whatever the actual asking price is. But I got to thinking, I'm like, I've made a bunch of money on that sale already. I probably bought that bag for essentially $1. It's all profit at this point. It has the big stain, so it's certainly not a perfect item. And I've had it listed for probably 3 months, so I'm thinking, whatever. Let's go ahead and accept the offer. Let's just kind of bite the bullet, take the $20. It's still profit. And it was kind of interesting because almost immediately I got a message about that item. And this is what it said. It's just sometimes you do things you don't really know why. Maybe we're being guided by, something out there. But this is the message I got. They said, just wanted to say thank you for even considering my offer. You have no idea what this means. This will be the first time trying this style out for my PTSD and my medical conditions. I didn't want to come across as a lowball, but I can't afford much. again, look forward to receiving. I really hope this helps me. You know, and I'm just going to leave it at that. It's wonderful to be in an opportunity in this type of business where most of the time, what are we doing? We are just trying to make money, right? But every now and then, in a variety of ways, including something really special like this one, we can really impact people and really make a difference in their lives and really help people out. You know, it's kind of silly to it's an interesting thing that it happened. I was really pleased that she sent that message to me. A lot of times people will send that message as part of the offer, and I often think of that as a negotiating tactic where they're trying to make you feel bad in order to sell an item to somebody really inexpensively. So I'm glad that she didn't take that tactic, because I probably wouldn't have accepted the offer. But in this case, I did, as it turned out. And yeah, it was just a really nice reminder of one of the additional reasons why we do this. It's not always just about making money. Of course, that's usually first and foremost, but there's other really good side benefits as well. So these next two items sold to the same person, and this is exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about when it comes to great items to pick up in Q4. I have started also sourcing on Facebook Marketplace more than I usually would, and again, it's because there's no yard sales going on. So I don't find a lot of things on there. Most of the time I think people are reselling stuff that they also have listed on eBay on Facebook Marketplace. At least the things that I find that are actually resale worthy. But this listing came up and it was expensive, but it was exactly the kind of thing I was looking for. This person was selling off a set of board games that they purchased off of a Kickstarter. This company had a Kickstarter. It's this board game Nemesis by Awaken Realms. So they had a new version that they did a Kickstarter, which is like a fundraiser. If you don't know what Kickstarter is, it's companies that have new products that they don't necessarily have a lot of funding for. So they want to get the message out about this product that they have. Hope people will pre-order it and kind of fund the manufacture of the product. That's basically what Kickstarter is. So somebody did this, this company did this here with this board game called Nemesis. I think there's a different version of Nemesis already out. I'm not certain, but anyway. This gentleman paid for this Kickstarter, and he ended up that he didn't use any of the games. They were all brand new, sealed, except for one, which he just opened up. So it's not sealed, but it's still brand new. This is a type of game where you play with a bunch of friends, and he has a friend that had the game also, and that's usually where they go play it, is at his friend's house. So he didn't have a need for any of his games, so he went ahead and sold them. $500 for everything, and it was a bit of a gamble. It still is, because I haven't made my money back, but I think there was a grand total of somewhere around, so there's 19 different items that comprised the $500 total. So you're looking at approximately $25 an item or so. So it's expensive. It is not something that is an obvious, like no-brainer. But these are the types of things that people love to buy at this type of year. So this person bought two of the same things. He bought this, or two different items, I should say, to the same person. This Nemesis Void Cedars expansion, and that sold for $40. And then this Stretch Goals also sold. That sold for $38. So $78 to the same person, plus shipping on those. And then a little bit later, somebody bought this. This is the Carnomorph expansion, and this sold for $110. Now, this is a strategy I've talked about. This is a supply and demand game. That same game expansion has sold a couple of times for around $95. A lot of these are international sales as well. So there were no, I don't know if there were any, there are either no listed or no United States-based sellers that had that item listed. So when I went to list it, I listed it higher than what the previous comps were. I listed it for, like I said, $110 instead of $95. And I was a little bit nervous about it. Was it going to sell at all? It sold. All these sold within about 3 days of me listing them. So that sold for $110, and then the last one that sold is this Nemesis Aftermath expansion. That sold for $75 plus shipping. So I've only listed 5 of the 19 things so far. The 5th thing that hasn't sold yet is actually it's a plush. It's like what's called a Space Cat plush. So it's not a game. It's just kind of an extra that came with the Kickstarter, like a bonus, fun little plush. But all the games that I've listed sold within a couple of days, which is a little bit surprising because the sell-through rate wasn't quite that amazing, and I'm not underpricing any of those. So I think grand total I'm at approximately $263. I've sold already, minus fees. We're probably talking, let's just say $210. So we're not quite halfway there, but I do, like I said, I do have 14 other things still to list. Some of them are in that $30, $40 range. Some of them, a lot of them are at $75, $90, $100, $125. So I'm hoping to make or to sell about $1,200 worth of product after all. So I'll hopefully double my money, which is, in my mind, when you double $500, that's a lot bigger deal than if you double $20. Clearly you're making 20 in one and 500 in another. But the specific reason I bought it is because it was all new, and it was, we're getting into Q4, we're getting into gift giving season. A lot of people buy gifts for other people, obviously, but a lot of people buy themselves gifts nowadays, and these are the types of things that I think people will buy for both scenarios. So when it comes to reselling, a lot of people talk about Q4 and how important it is for their business. For me, it's not always a great. I usually do well, but it's not always like make or break for me. Like a lot of people will make close to 50% of their annual income in Q4. Since that's not me, I was like, well, maybe I need to. I would love to make 50% of my income in Q4 if my sales are now about $55,000 a year, and I can do another $25,000 in Q4. Right now I'm doing, on average, let's say $12,000 in Q4. Well, if I could double that, why not? And so that's what I'm looking to do. Really looking to take my Q4 to a new level. So hopefully this will help get me there. Let me dig a little bit to try and find this item, because this is an old, long listed one. All right, finally, it did find it. Stroh's, vintage Stroh's beer tap. Paid $4 for it. Sold it for $8.39. Beer taps are cool. They just don't sell for a lot of money. Got really lucky at my thrift store this last week, and I think I've talked about this. I love the kind of the makeup or like bathroom supplies section there. I've had a lot of success. Sold a bunch of Clinique lipsticks. Sold a bunch of other makeup, and found quite a few this last time Philosophy products. I don't really know anything about Philosophy, but they have some high-end bath products. This is the best one. It's a orange cocoa and cream glazed body souffle. Paid $2 for this, and it sold in a day or two for $58.99 free shipping. So love that. Just love that section. So let's talk about the month, and then how that feeds into this bigger philosophy that I wanted to talk about. But the month is going really well for me. It is October 27th, and I have $5,604.32 in sales. It's already, like last year in October, I had $3,800. Month to month, or year over year, month to month isn't always the same, but in general, that's a good sign. Like I said, focusing on Q4 and really trying to maximize my sales in the quarter. And it comes down to this tendency that I have, maybe you're like me, where when things are going poorly, I really love to buckle down and list, try and list my way through the slow periods. And on the flip side, when things are going well, when things are, or sales are kind of going like gangbusters, I don't always list as much as I should. I don't always keep the momentum going because I kind of rest on my laurels a little bit. I kind of feel like, hey, things are going well. I don't need to keep listing because the sales are just going to come in still anyway, which of course is silly. But it just comes down to this phrase that I know we've all heard a billion times. It applies to so many different things, but it really applies to your resale business, and it's you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. You enjoy the benefits of the work that you've already done. It's another way to put it. You will work hard, and then over time, you will enjoy the results of that hard work. You reap what you sow. I'm currently, with that thinking, with that mindset of, I'm kind of relaxing a little bit. My nose isn't to the grindstone. I'm not making sure I'm hitting my 5 listings a day minimum goal. Over the weekend I didn't list anything. There were 2 days that I didn't list anything. I had a super busy weekend. I was out of town both days, but I didn't have any drafts. This wasn't a surprise that I was going out of town. I didn't do the things that I could have done to make sure that I hit my listing goal. And you reap what you sow can, of course, have negative connotations as well, because if you're not sowing things, you're not going to be able to reap those in the future. So you don't reap what you don't sow. And of course, this has emotional connotations as well. If you're giving out negative energy all the time, you're probably going to receive negative energy. If you give out positive energy, you're happy, you're nice, you're kind, you're caring. If you're sowing those seeds of positivity, generally you're going to get that back. You're generally going to reap what you sowed emotionally as well. This has happened to me twice now, and I know that this is a me problem. And it's interesting because this happened to me at the thrift store this past week. I have this thing where apparently, and I don't even realize it at the time, but like if I'm looking in an area, if I'm at a wall that has clothing, like a rack of clothing right in front of me, and I'm looking at this clothing, I have this feeling apparently that I own this section. Just silly. So it's silly. Because what happens is if I'm looking through that clothing and then somebody is, maybe they see an item, it's entirely possible that somebody could see a shirt that's like 3 shirts away from where I'm looking, that they know that, they like that color, they like that pattern. They see a pair of pants, same thing, they like it. And they might grab it. And my initial reaction is, hey, in my mind, hey, I'm looking at this section. That's mine. I don't even want the item. 99.999% of the time, I don't even want the item. But that's my initial reaction. And this happened to me on Wednesday, or whatever day it was. I don't know why I said Wednesday. But this happened to me at the thrift store the other day. This thrift store that I'm at has the smallest, tightest, skinniest aisles ever. Which is it's obviously annoying and frustrating, but it's nice on the other hand, because that means they cram the product. They cram the clothing and items for sale as much as they possibly can, which is good. We want to have as much variety, much inventory as possible. So I'm pushing my cart because they have grocery carts, of course, for you to put your items in, like most thrift stores. And here I am looking at this section of purses, and there's no real place for my cart to go except for right in front of me. And I always make a point to like push it as far over so that people can get by. I hold it as close to me as I can. It's like I have one hand looking at the purses and the other hand is held on to the handle of the cart, pulling it super tight to me because I'm really trying to be mindful of others and making sure that they can get around me and whatnot. But then, because it's like this is the cart's part of me and I'm looking at this section, well, where the cart is on the other side of it, there's quite a few purses that are being blocked by my cart. And this other shopper says, hey, can you move your cart like 6 inches so I can look at these purses? And I'm like, sure. So I move it 6 inches. And then she's like, can you just move your cart out of the way so that I can look at all these purses here? And I immediately am like, I put up this wall. I end up sowing what I reap in that instance because for whatever reason, like I said, I've sowed this feeling of ownership over the section that I am standing in front of. Yes, I say it out loud, and I've thought about this in the past, and it's wrong. I don't own that section. I don't own the rights to look at that section exclusively. And, I was like, well, what? In the moment, I said, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm looking at this section, and I need to have my cart next to me. She's like, oh, well, you can just put the cart behind you in that area right there. And I'm like, after the fact, yeah, she's absolutely right. She was 100% right. And I mean, I could tell she was looking at purses, so it's not like just all of a sudden she walked up and immediately asked me to move my cart. She was looking at purses for, a minute or two, at least, while I was. So I knew she was there. And I was in the wrong. And where I'm going with this is I'm admitting a personal struggle that I have when it comes to emotionally reaping what you sow. But if you can get a handle on that aspect, the emotional reaping of what you sow, if you can get a handle on that, that's how you win in life. And I'm saying this on the video here to help motivate myself, help motivate you all. We need to be doing that so much more in life because there's so much negativity. And if we keep sowing seeds of negativity over and over and over again, politically, when we're shopping at the thrift store, posting things online, rooting for our sports teams, going to our kids' sporting events and yelling at the refs. If we keep sowing these seeds of negativity, we're going to reap the negativity in tenfold. It's going to just keep growing exponentially. So will you help? So let's work together as a community, the PDX Picker community, the few of us that are watching here. Let's work together to overcome these feelings. Let's work together to sow seeds of positivity in our reselling business, in our lives, wherever we can. This sold. I had a good weekend with Poshmark for some reason. Not a bunch of high dollar sales, but a bunch of things that sold that have been listed for a long time. This is just a Columbia orange fleece. Picked this up for $5 somewhere. I mean, I've had it listed for quite some time. I just don't remember where it was. That sold for $17 plus shipping. I sold a lipstick, about 45 cents. is how much I paid for this Clinique lipstick. The shade of it is a different grape. It's like a purple. That sold for $25. I think free shipping on that one. This purse took a lot. There's a lot of interest in this. This is a brand that is like a cool brand, but it's certainly not for everybody. And the brand is Killstar. So it's a purse here, and it's got this like Black Widow look on the front of it. I picked this up for $5 at my thrift store, $4.99, and that sold for, took an offer for $35 on that one. And then lastly, this was probably the most surprising sale of the weekend. I came across these in the storage unit auction that I bought, and I almost didn't list them because the sell-through rate on them was non-existent. Not a spectacular brand, but the condition was pretty nice. So I said, you know what, I'll take a chance. And it's this pair right here of Perry Ellis Portfolio shoes. Very minimal wear on them. Like, I'm not sure they were worn more than once. And sold those for $16 plus shipping. So not a big, huge sale, but the fact that they sold it all was pretty exciting nonetheless. A couple more eBay items, and then that'll be it for the day. This took a while to sell, but which was surprising because there's a lot of these that sold, and I thought I got it sold in the, are listed in the right time. This is a vintage Perrine or something like that fly fishing box, and with a bunch of flies inside it. Paid I think $4 for this. That's what it looks like inside there. So quite a few flies. This is the Perrine number 100 aluminum fly box. Eventually sold $34.99. Free shipping. It does have the original owner's name on it engraved. That might have contributed to a little bit slower sale, but eventually it did sell. And I finally sold my first pair of Kizik's. Picked these up for $6.99 at a thrift store that I would love to be able to go to more often because the prices on it are decent. It's a neat little small non-profit thrift store. It's just quite a ways away from me. This pair of Kizik's here sold for $29.99 plus shipping. So sold a few pairs of shoes. I think this was my third pair, and then we have one more pair after this, which is good because shoes still my number one selling category for the year. Actually, maybe not. I don't know. But historically, that's my number one selling category, and the sales volume had gone down a fair amount, so I'm glad to see that it's starting to pick up. These, not quite as good of a sale. I mean, not really a good sale at all. I mean, it's a good profit, or it's some profit, but these are some old vintage Nike ACG hiking boots. Pretty good condition. I paid $15 for these. Some of those had sold. Not too many of them had sold, but a few of them had sold for decent money. I originally had these listed for like $90. Got no traction. I delisted a whole bunch of items in my store, some of which I'm delisting and not ever going to relist. Others like these, I relisted at a lower amount. Relisted these for $40. Somebody sent me an offer for $30, and I said, screw it, I'm going to take it because they've been listed forever. So still made a profit, just not a great one. $30 off of $15. But I'm just happy to get something out of it and not have to just donate it like a few things. I'd say out of the 250 things that I delisted, there's about 100 of them that I'm not going to relist. They're so old, or they're just they're not going to sell, which is not great, but they're really old items, and I have really changed my strategy for purchasing lately. Starting in December of 2023, so we're almost coming on 2 years now. A lot of those items were prior that I am not relisting. I purchased prior to that time, so we're talking some really old stuff. And I didn't used to focus on sell-through rate. I just used to focus on, did it sell at all? Well, now since December 2023, focusing on sell-through rates, the number of items that fall into that category where they don't sell. There's still going to be some for sure, but instead of it being 100 items out of my 800 listing store, hopefully it's going to be like 25 items, maybe 50 items, probably more like 25 items every year. So I plan on doing that about once a year. And a lot of the stuff that I've relisted, like these boots, has sold. This was also one of those things. The Stroh's beer tap handle, I had it listed, I think, for $15, and I relisted it at like 12 or whatever, and somebody sent me a little bit of an offer. Anyway, that strategy works. So, but sometimes you just need to cut bait and just get rid of stuff. It's taking up room in your inventory. It's taking, I think it also has a negative effect on your eBay sales, because if your store has a big percentage of it that are items that never sell or hardly get any views, I think the algorithm knows that, or can keep track of that, and it can affect the other listings as well. That's just my personal opinion. I have no idea. Could be totally wrong. But anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully it was interesting. If it was, please like this video, and if you'd like to get more content, more videos like this in your feed in the future, please subscribe as well. Thank you to Harley Gal for being my PDX Posse member. I really appreciate the monthly support. It means a lot, and you can do so as well by clicking the join button under my profile. Good luck with all of your ventures out there, reselling or otherwise. We'll catch you on the next video. So take care. Bye-bye.